Hi everyone, welcomes to the knowledge session. In today's session, we are going to dive into another wonderful session, which is about the Akka HTTP, where we are going to implementing two types of server API, which is low level and high level. So I'm Kuldeepa Gupta, software consultant in Nodus. So before starting the knowledge session, let's talk about some etiquettes which needs to be followed. First one is punctuality, means try to join all the sessions before 5 minutes, which is your threshold post session start time. Please keep your window on mute until and unless if you have any question. The time you have any question, just ask me and I will try to answer you in any way I can. So after that, please again mute your window to avoid the disturbance. And at last, which is your feedback, which is the most important part for us, which actually helps us in constructing more beautiful sessions for you. So the agenda for today's session will be, first we will talk about what actually is Akka HTTP, means what is the use of Akka HTTP, what actually is the definition is, and how we are going to implementing in Scala as well. Then apart from this, we will learn about some modules in Akka HTTP, which means these are those modules which we are going to implementing while creating the low level and higher level server APIs as well. Then I guess you people knows that I believe in demo rather than explaining the theoretical concept. So we are going to dive through the demo as well. And at last, which is the main part of this session, that will be what is the difference between the two, means the low level server API and high level server API. And apart from this, we will also learn, means when to is which one, means what will be the scenarios when we are going to implementing the low level server API, and what will be the situation or scenario when we have to use the high level server API. So let's start. Means the first question which arises is, what is Akka HTTP? As you people know that the Scala has one of the most powerful feature known to be Akka, where we have a number of modules as well. For some of them is Akka actor, Akka HTTP, Akka streams, or a number of things too. So one of them is Akka HTTP. So Akka HTTP implements a full server and client side HTTP stack, which is built on the top of Akka actors and the Akka stream. It's mostly used in building the REST APIs. One thing I want to clear it is that the Akka HTTP is not a web framework. Rather than, it is a general toolkit for providing and consuming the HTTP based services. So also it has a good support for standard serialization such as JSON, XML, and you're gonna seeing in a very short, means how we're going to implementing this good support of standard serialization, which may be JSON, XML, or HTML as well. Apart from this, Akka HTTP offers several different APIs levels, many of which are low level APIs. But when you're gonna stuck in any of the low level API, you have another option which is the high level API, and soon you will learn how to implement them as well. So there are some modules to create and instantiate actors. One of them is Akka HTTP core, Akka HTTP, Akka HTTP test kit, Akka HTTP spray JSON, and Akka HTTP XML. These are some basic modules which will help you in creating the Akka HTTP along with some actors as well, since it has a good integration, and as I told you that it is built on the top of Akka actors and Akka stream. So finally, we are just look into the demos how actually it works. So I have a repository with me. So first we will start with low level API. So basically what it is, we have two types of API and both have some different implementations. One of them is low level API. So let's try to understand what actually is the low level API in Akka HTTP. So how to instantiate, as I told you that Akka HTTP is built on the top of Akka actors and Akka stream. So let me show you the build file as well, where we have added some dependencies as well. As I told you that we have a number of modules, so I have added all those modules here. Means first one is Akka HTTP, Akka HTTP JSON, Akka HTTP test kit, Akka test kit, and Akka stream. Since Akka HTTP is built on Akka stream, that means you also need to include the Akka stream in your dependencies as well. Since as you people know that we are suffering from log4j problem, so I have tried to install, means I have tried to add all the latest dependencies versions as well here, so that we don't need to suffer from log4j at the same time. So let's start with the application. and the time I will explaining, I will let you know what are these modules and how to implement and what are the uses of different modules in different scenarios. So before starting, let's we have we have object file which is application. I am using object file here because we need to run the file as well for the same time. That's why we are using extended. I guess you people knows about it. So before running or creating or implementing any of the APIs in Akka Http, what the first step is, you need to create an actor system. So in my case, I have created a low level server API, the name of the actor system. And also, as I told you, that we need to have the Akka stream as well. That's why we are using the actor materializer as well, which is an implicit part of any of the function which you're gonna implementing in our route section. So let's forget about this section as well for now, since you don't need to learn out it. The time it will require, I will let you know out it. So when it comes to the low level API, we can create the low level API in three ways. First one is, of course, the HTTP request to HTTP response. In this session, I will let you learn about the same. Apart from this, you have another option. Second one is from Akka HTTP to future of HTTP response, when you need to learn about the asynchronous, since when you are learning about the Akka HTTP request to Akka HTTP response, it is all about the synchronous API. But when I will let you know about the let me try to run future of when we are talking about the HTTP request to future of HTTP response, that means we are talking about the asynchronous API. And the third one, of course, will be the Akka stream API. So in this session, we will cover up only about the Akka HTTP request to Akka HTTP response, which is all about the synchronous APIs in Akka HTTP. So what is the first thing which we need to learn? That we need to have a case. The case where we will try to handle all the Akka HTTP request. Means here we are going accepting some type of request from the any server or any API, and in the response of which we are going to sending them an Akka HTTP response. Means I will now simply use the Akka HTTP response for now. So we will accept an HTTP request where we have 5 functions as well. As you see that I have mentioned only 2 for now and there are 3 left for now. So let me tell you what are these 5 functions. First one is HTTP methods, where we will tell about, means which type of methods we can use. It may be get, it may be post, it may be delete, it may be put, or anything you want. So in this session I will try to use as many of as I can. Second one is URI path, which will let you about know, means the path, the route which we are accepting for this case, since we are using case class. As in my previous sessions I have already told about the different pattern matching, and one of them is means the case classes. Now when you are talking about the URI paths, that for now I'm just using a single slash. That means I'm not asking for any different route, I'm just binding my server to any of the simplest URI for now. Third, let me so if I try to show you that these are the methods. First one is the HTTP, as I told you, these are the methods which may be get, put. Second one is the URI. Third one is the headers, means when you want to redirect or you want to do anything else apart from making some different operations on your API, you can use headers as well. Fourth one is the request entity. So when it comes to providing the entity, means what you have to ultimately do, you have to provide them an HTTP response. So you may use the request entity, means you may ask the another API or the method which is calling your route. You may ask them to provide entity as well if required only. And at last, means if you want to have some problems with or some scenarios where you have to implement the protocol as well, then you may use the protocols as well. So these are the 5 things which you need to know when you are implementing a low level server API. So now what we have done till now, we have instantiating and system, we have instantiating and materializer, we have requested for the we have requested the HTTP request, and we have some parameters as well. Now this time we have to do some operations on those systems. So what I'm doing, against the request, I'm providing an HTTP response. In response, there are some things which you need to mind for now. First one is you have to provide them a status code, means the status, whether it is success, it is failure, it is forwarded, it is bad request. So you have to provide uh, a status code as an HTTP response. Apart from this, second one, as I told you, is the entity, which is the HTTP entity, where you have to mention which type of content, means the content, what will be your content type. So for now I'm using, say for example, HTML. If I will show you, we have a number of content types. It may be application JSON, it may be HTML. So for this case I'm using the HTML. And further now I will also show some cases for application JSON and other part as well. And that, while we have declared the type of the content type, I'm also providing a content which need to go as an HTTP response. So this part will be sent as an HTTP response against the HTTP request. Am I audible?
Yes, Kuldeepak, audible.
Yes.
So this is something where we have handled a case when we have a get method, and also in the URI path we don't have any other route to be hit. So let's say I have another method which is get method, means we have another request where we have get as an HTTP method, but this time our URL or our path will be like localhost our port slash sessions. Means in this scenario we are going to implementing in another case. What I have did here, means I am just providing an HTTP response against the HTTP request. Again, we are providing the HTTP entity as an entity to the API as an response. And this time I'm again using the same content type, but rather than providing a simple content or simple message, I'm providing my content as an HTML. So this is something, this is the part where I've tried to implement the HTML part as well, means the HTML body and simple. This is a knowledge session, and strip margin is used to provide the content. Say lot, say for example, if you need to replace some variables as well, so you can do in the same way. Third method means again I am gonna using the get method. Now apart from the session part, I'm just expecting the URL will be like the localhost slash blogs. Now rather than providing the response in the form of HTML or the simple, what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to redirect the existing URL to a new URL, which is the blog.knowledge.com slash author dot slash Kuldeepa Gupta. So what it will do, if any of the scenario where this case got hitted, means this case got executed, where my HTTP method will be like get and the URL path will have the blocks as well, then my existing URL will be redirected to this URL actually. So this is another case. I will try to explain when I will do some practical examinations as well at the same time. Now let's discuss 2 or 3 cases as well, where let's say, as you people know that we people believe in encapsulation in Scala. So I've just tried to make a case class for the same. This case class consists of 3 things only. First one is the name, second one is age, and third one is email. Now what is the problem with this? While working on a HTTP system doesn't know the type of anything which you are using in your program. So the system doesn't know that you are using case class, you are sending SMS, you are sending a simple string or whatever you are doing. So you let the system know that what you are doing is what type of content you are sending or you are accepting. So that's why the second modules comes into the role, which is the spray JSON. So what I have did, I have just tried to create and trade name to be protocol which extends the default JSON protocol. Inside this I just tell the system that yes, I have a case class which is user, which have only 3. So this number indicates that the number of parameters I do have in my case class. So I'm just telling my system yes, that I have a case class named to be user and we have 3 parameters as well. So what this part will do, this part will let the system know that yes, we are accepting or we are sending a case class with this name and this number of parameters as well. So what actually this is known to be. This is known to be marshalling and unmarshalling in Akka HTTP. So in this part, so for let's what I have did here, I have just instantiate that case class and just pass some values, means Kuldeepak as a name, age to be 22, and email to be kuldeepak.gupta.noldas.com at noldas.com. So what I have did here, I am just expecting an get method where the path URI will be /user, and what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to send the same user, means the user with name Kuldeepak, age 22, and email ID to kuldeepak.gupta@noldas.com. So I'm just trying to send the same to the as an HTTP response. What before sending this user case class to the API or the UI as well, what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to convert it to JSON. But while converted to JSON, it will just convert it to JSON, but the format of the JSON will won't be understandable to us in easy manner. So what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to convert that JSON into a pretty print. Means what this method will do, this will convert your JSON format into a readable format. Soon you will came to know what I'm trying to say. And the last one is what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to change the name. So how can we do this? I'm just asking the user to put a query parameter as well. Means I guess you people knows and even I guess you noticed out it that in the URL section you might have observed it, www.google.com search /? equals. So these are the query params which we are gonna using here. Means what I am trying to do, I am just binding all my URI path to a single URI variable, and from URI I'm trying to extract the query part. So let's say the URL will be like localhost /user/user/name equals to, and whatever will be the name. So we are trying to extract the name from the path as well. And what I'm trying to do, I am just changing the name Kuldeepak with the new name and just sending it to the UI at the same time. So this is all type. But what if I'm trying to accept an HTTP request and that request doesn't match with this one, with this one, or with this one, or with this one? Then in this case, we have defined a default default HTTP request, where we are just sending discard entity bytes, and as a status code we are sending not found, and as an entity I'm just sending an HTML part saying that oops, wrong path, keep trying. Now one more thing I would like to tell you is, when it comes to the status code, it's an optional part. Means if you don't want to provide it to the user, it's entirely depends on you. But at that scenario, it will take, or it will consider the status code as a default status code. It will accept the OK as an status, as an default status code. So let me took you people to the HTTP response. Then you might have observed that the status code by default is status codes.ok. So if you don't want to mention the status code.ok for now, it's okay. But if you want to change, you have to mention over here. So let's try to run and let's check whether it is working or not. So my system is up and running. So let's try to hit the local host for now. So before that, let me tell you one more thing, that we have bounded our route using the HTTP. So the interface will be localhost, and the port which we are using for this session is 800. It means what it will do, it will bound this handler which is from which actually accepts the HTTP request and respond as an HTTP response, will be bounded to an interface which is known to be localhost with port 8008. Let's try to 8008. So this is the first message which we can see is hello, welcome to the knowledge. Let's check the code as well for the same. Since we are not sending any of the route or any of the other URL, that's why we are getting this message. So let's try to hit another one. So let's try to get the block section as well. So what if I will change the URL with blog? So what it will do, it will redirect my existing URL to another. See what happened, it actually redirect me to the blog.noldas.com where the author is Kuldeepak. So this is the scenario where we are just redirecting my existing URL to a new one. Let's do some more stuff as well for the query params. So what we are trying to do, this is our new URL section. Let's copy and paste the same over there and pass the name as kg. So what it will do, it will change the name. I guess the screen is visible, although it's let me, yes, it can be zoomed out. So see, the name has been changed to kg since I have passed the name as in query params. So this is all about the low level server API. So if anyone of you having any doubt till now, just let me know. I will repeat it out.
No, Guldeep.
Okay,
Please
thanks.
continue.
So the next one is the higher level API. So let's I means for now it might possible that it is quite boring or it may be a bit tough because this is something which takes time, but the time you will learn out it, you will find it much interesting ever you find. So again, uh, for the high level API, what I'm doing, I'm just using system, I'm using the same materializer which I've declared in the low level API. Again, I'm just creating another user which is Kuldeepak22 with the same email ID. Now rather than telling the system that we are accepting the HTTP request and we are sending an HTTP response or future of HTTP response or the Akka stream, what we will do, we will just create a simple route here. What the route will do, it will do all the possible operations which we were doing manually in the low level server API. This is all about the property of the high level server API. So what we have to do, you have just to define the path, means the section of URL you are expecting from apart from the interface, means the URL will be looking like localhost slash 8003 slash session. You might have observed that I'm not using slash since in the low level API I was using slash to differentiate between two params, but in high level server API you don't need to mention. The system will automatically recognize those things. After the path, you need to mention which type of method you are expecting from. The way we are doing in the low level server API was to provide a HTTP methods dot get. You don't need to do it. You just need to mention get. That means we are expecting for get method. Then after this, you have to mention what you are going to do. So you will do a complete operation under which you will providing an status code which is okay. Again, you may do any of the status code you want to send. Then an HTTP response which you want to send. This is the part which is common in both the sections, means the low level and the high level server API as well. You have to tell the system means which type of content you are gonna sending, and then the content. So what I have done for now, I've just all the operations which I was performing in the low level server API, I'm doing the same in the high level server API as well. So this is the first part where I was just expecting for session as in part. Then the method which I expect is get method. Then I'm just sending a status code to be okay, and then HTTP entity in the form of then HTML by declaring the content type to be HTML UTF-8. Now you may have another options as well, since I as I told you that I'm using the protocols, means the default JSON protocol, to let the system know about that we are using case class to send or receive the data. So what I am doing, I'm just sending the user again to the console. So this is the way. Now the one more thing which I would like to tell you, which is the most interesting thing, we have chaining in high level server API. So let's say you have a number of routes, rather than defining them apart from each other, you can chain them into a single route by using a sign which is known to be tilde. I guess my screen is visible. So this is the sign you will be using to chain a number of routes together. If you don't want to use this sign, you can use concatenation, you can use concatenate to bound all the routes together. What it will do is, first we will check whether this condition is getting satisfied. If yes, then we will execute this part and just move apart from this code. But if this section is not acceptable, then we will try to look into it. If it is not, then we will go down by down as the time we are not getting our conditions getting true. So this is all about the tilde 10 which we are using in the high level server API. Now, again, we are expecting for a user as an URL part. Then we are again expecting the method which we are expecting in this knowledge section will be the get method. Then again, we are just sending the user which we have created by Kuldeepa, by the name Kuldeepa Gupta, age 22, and the email ID to be Gupta, kuldeepak.gupta@naltas.com. Now, let's try to do something unique. What we are doing till now, how we were passing the names as the user question mark the name equals to kg, but I don't want to do this. I do not want to use this stupid method. So if I'm thinking that it's not good to use, then let's do it in another way. What we will do, we will expect, we will tell the system that we are after the user keyword we are expecting for a segment, and this segment actually is a string. So if I try to do the type annotation, you will see that we are expecting a name which is which is of type string. So we are telling the system that we are expecting for a segment, which it means we are expecting for a string which we have declared to be name after the user keyword in our URL. Then again, it's a get method, and on returning what we are doing, we are replacing the Kuldeepak with the new name which we want to show or we want to send to the console. Again, since we have to convert it to the JSON, but JSON is not easily understandable, that's why we are using the pretty print as well. Now, this is something which is like, we are getting some interest as well. But what if? Let's try to do something unique as well. So I need to change the age, but the segment part is only useful when you are expecting for a string. So what you can do is you can do int number, but this is not a good approach. What we will do, we will use a parameter method. We will use a symbol which is apostrophe and then the parameter you want as a part of a URL, and you are going to declaring the type as well. So I'm expecting for an age where the type of the age will be int, and what we are doing, we are simply just changing the age of the current user and just sending again it to the console as well. So this is all about this part. Again, if this condition not satisfied, then again I'm using the tilde sign, means what if this condition got not satisfied or is not true, then we are expecting for another. The way we were doing in low level API was we were redirecting using headers. What? But in the high level server API, we have a method which is known to be redirect. And under the redirect, you need to pass an URI. For now, you may consider URI as an URL, where I am just mentioning means to which URL I need to redirect my existing URL. But the point to be noted here is the status code should be permanent redirect. If I will do the OK or forbidden, that won't be acceptable and the system will provide you an error for the same. Even though it's not a compile time error, it will be a runtime error. So for now, I'm just changing it to the permanent redirect. And at last, the way we were doing in the low level server API means if we are not expecting for any of the new input from the URL, so this can be done in high level server API as well. You just need to mention that path and or single slash. That means we are not expecting any of the other keyword in the URL. So the last symbol or the last thing will be a single space, means the single slash, or there would be nothing. In such case, I'm sending the same message as I did earlier in the low level server API, means the message which is the hello, welcome to the knowledge session. Again, I'm telling my system that the content type of the response will be HTML UTF-8. Again, when it comes to the low level server API, what we did, we mentioned all the possible cases, and at last we mentioned a default, means if none of the cases got executed, then in such case this default part will execute it, as you always need to provide an alternative solution to your problem, since if any of don't case got passed, then your code may fail or may provide you an error that may lead to some problem. So we provide a default scenarios as well, means the default situation as well. So in this case, what we are doing, we are not asking any path. See, we are just saying yes, we have get, or you may want to remove, you may also get, you may also can remove the get as well. What we are doing, we are just sending a message, oops, wrong path. The way we bind up the uh, handler to the interface is the same for high level API. What we will do, we will bind our route to HTTP using bind and handle to the interface, which is local host with the port 8008. So let's stop the low level server API and let's try to do something unique with the help of high level server API. So as the server is up and running, let's try to do server operations as well. So what we will do, just remove all those things. So we are getting welcome to the knowledge session. This is the part where we are not using any symbol or any of the other keywords. So definitely it will check all the conditions, and at last where there is, means this condition will get true, and ultimately we are sending the same message which is on the console as well. So let's try to redirect our URL to the blog website. So see, as I told you earlier, we don't need to mention the slash. Let's try to execute the same. So I'm just adding a blog section as well. So you will look that I have been redirected to a new URL, which is the blog.nordus.com slash author slash Kuldeepa Gupta. So this is all about, let's try to do something more stuff. Let's try to do as users, as I haven't. So see, as we don't have any route having the path with users, that's why the my code fall into the last section where I'm not expecting for any of the part. That's why I'm getting this error. Let's say we want to get all the users, then what I have to do, I have to use this path, which is the user path. For now I'm not using any of the methods. It may be post, it may be put, it may be delete, because I'm not using postman for now. But in the upcoming sections, for sure I will be showing you all the other types. It may put, delete, get, or any of the other methods you want to ask. I will. So what, for now I have did, I am just adding another keyword to the URL, which is user, and see what I'm getting. I'm getting all my content, which is age, which is email, which is name. See, we have an this the reason being behind we are getting the data into a proper manner is because we are using the pretty print. And what pretty print did, it just uh, sort out all my key, because these are keys, these are values. So what it did, it just sort out all the keys in ascending order. As you can see that when it comes to the case class, the first parameter was name, but in the console I can see that the first key is age. So this is all about, let's try to do something much. So I'm just passing the kg. See, as I told you that if I don't want to pass the parameter as using question mark or equals to, I'm just telling my system that there will be a route with two keywords, users, user, and then there will be a segment. Let me show you through the code as well. So when it comes to this section, see, we have a path prefix, we have a path user, and then we are expecting for segment. Now one more thing I would like to add here is, we have two types of things. First one is path prefix, second one is path. What is the difference between the path prefix and path is, if you have a common condition under a common prefix, under a common path. Say for example, if I'm using the users as a prefix for the users, or I'm just expecting for users user, or and any other parameters, that means we have a common part in both the URL, which is users. So what I'm doing, I'm just mentioning path prefix, and under the path prefix we will mention all those sections, all those conditions which we want to execute when it comes to the path prefix user. So this is all about the path prefix and path. One more another thing which you need to learn about is, you don't need to mention the path under mention. That may lead to an error or a compilation error. So if you want to declare any path under any path, so you have to use the path prefix for the main path, means for the parent path, for the So this is a parent, then I'm just changing the name. So this was all about the practical implementation. So let's cover up in a very short. We are just implementing some modules, which is Akka Http JSON for converting the file to the JSON format, so that we can connect with Akka Http for the same. We are not using test kit for now, since we don't have any time. In the upcoming sections, we will also learn about how to do the testing for the same using the code. And at last, we are using Akka Stream, since as I told you that the Akka Http is built on the top of Akka actors and Akka Stream. We have two types of API. First one is low level API, where we have implemented the code using some scenarios by declaring all the possible scenarios under a case, where we were expecting for a HTTP request, and against for that request we are sending an HTTP response using handler. And what we are doing at last, we are just binding all those possible situations to an HTTP. Means we are binding these situations to an interface which is localhost using the port 8008, and this method is used to bind. So there are a number of ways you can do the same. But another thing which you may learn is that you don't need to let the system run all the time, is infinitely. So what you can do, when your functions, when your functionality gets implemented, or the way the work which which you were expecting the program to do, when it happens, you need to close the system, because it may lead the system to get hang. So what you can do, you can terminate your system as well. So you can terminate your system, which is your actor system. And see, we are getting an error because we are not providing any implicit. That's why we have to use the system dispatcher that will provide an implicit value. And you can see that now we are out of that error. So this was all about the low level API. And high level API, where we were using the routes rather than using the HTTP response feature of HTTP response or the Akka stream. We are just making some routes, and using the tilde sign, we are just chaining them together into a single route. And again, I'm repeating, if you don't want to use this symbol for now, you can use a concatenate method as well, where that method will do the same. Means that method will concatenate all the routes as well for the same. Under any route, you need to mention what is the path you are expecting from the methods which you expect the user or the API is expecting. Then you are just providing your solution here. So this is the temporary solution, means this for testing. If you have a number of functions which you want to operate during this scenario, what you can do, you can use actor, and by the help of the actor, you can operate all the operations which you want to do. Also, you have to mention the status code. If you're not mentioning the status code, the system will consider the status code okay by default for all the cases if you're not mentioning the status code. And then after that, you have to mention the content type, means the type you are trying to send back to the console, and then your content. So in session I've implemented the HTML and application JSON for now. But for you can see that we are getting all the outputs which we were expecting from, but you're not able to see the status code. So for the same, you can use the terminal. So let's trying to get localhost 8008. So I'm getting a status code okay. Let's try to hit an invalid URL. Let's say it's invalid. We are getting another okay, since we are just trying to send the okay from here, because I haven't mentioned any of the status code. That's why we are getting the default, but we are getting the message for the same, which is the oops wrong path. Let's try to hit the block part from here. So as I told you that we have to mention the status code, and for the redirection, you need to mention the permanent redirect, and we are getting the same response. Means we are getting the same status code, which is the permanent redirect. And the system is saying the request, and the all feature request should be repeated using this URL, and the URL is here, which I have mentioned over there. So this was all about the practical implementation of this knowledge session. So let's come to the next part, which is the most important part. Means what is the difference between the low level and high level server API? So it's I use this difference when it comes to the low level and high level server API. So when it comes to the low level server API, it will let you handle all the requests individually via your own internal logic, and you can implement the custom as well. As you have seen that I was implementing all the sections individually, and you can do a number of operations over there too. So this was all about the low level server API. But when it comes to the higher level server API, means high level server API, it gives you pieces, means the directive, the structure which you need to learn. The directive will let you to create a structure for your route, which you can build, which with the help of which you can build your own complex servers without caring about those pieces operated. Means you don't need to worry about the operations under which you have to mention whether it is the HTTP request response or future response or anything else. You don't need to worry about what is going on under the hood. Again, the implementation of low-level server is done in the Akka HTTP core module, which I told you earlier in the module section. But on the other end, when it comes to the high-level server API, the high-level server API of Akka HTTP is implemented only in Akka HTTP. Low level support means the low level server API supports you to get over control over the connection management, response ordering, etc. Means a number of things which you can manage using the low level server API. But when you are seeing that it's getting complicated to use the low level server API, just go to the high level server API where you can manage all the routes individually. You can just declare all them apart from each other, then just concatenate.
प्रेजेंट होता
So,
है, एग्जाइम होता है,
so
अकेडमी तब रिलीज होता है जब डैमेज होता है आरटीएल को।
sorry. So this was all about the low level difference between low level and server API. Now, when to use which one is the most scenario case, means this is the this might be a problem, means when I need to use the low level server API and when you need to use the high level. It entirely depends on you. Both have some advantages and both have some disadvantages. So let's talk about it. When means there is a trade-off between the use of low level and high level server API. When you need to get an easy of use and higher control, and you need to gain more control, like I need to say you need to have more grain control, use low level API. But when you want to spin something and really quickly up and you want to do some complex stuff as well, just switch it to high level server API. So this was all about the low level server API and high level server API in Akka
नहीं
HTTP.
लेना है पार्ट,
ऐसे भेजा करते रहते तो देखो इसमें।
हमारे पे भी मेल आया करता है।
Thank you so much, Kuldeepak. The form is, I think, we have very less time to, get the queries and the feedback. So I would urge everyone to give your feedbacks or your in the feedback form. And if you have any question, please uh, reach out to Kuldeepak on his personal window, and let's join the next session.
Yes, thanks Gurpreet for this for providing me an opportunity. And please, I have a request to all just to provide the feedback as it is very helpful for us. And in case of any of the queries, just feel free to reach out to me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Kuldeep.
Kuldeepak. Thank you, everyone, and let's join the another call.
अबे हम एक वो तुमको व्हाट्सएप कर रहे हैं वर्ड फाइल, वो उसमें खोलो, वर्ड में वर्ड है तुम्हारे पास, खोलो।